Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, sweeping ancient saga full of ambition, betrayal, and just absolute unwavering loyalty. We're diving deep into Volume 36 of the 10 Recitations Vinaya, which is this foundational text of ancient Buddhist monastic law. But look, this isn't just some dusty, boring list of rules. We're looking at a genuinely gripping narrative about the Buddha, his fiercely loyal attendant Ananda, and the ultimate antagonist of early Buddhism, a guy named Devadatta. It's a story that asks some seriously profound questions about the real nature of power, and we are going to explore the whole shebang right now. I want to start with this incredibly potent metaphor pulled right from the text, because it perfectly sets the stage for the tragic destiny of our antagonist, Devadatta. The Buddha actually watches Devadatta's rising influence and warns the other monks not to be jealous of him. He compares Devadatta to a banana tree, or bamboo, which literally dies right after it produces its fruit. It's a chilling warning, really. He's saying that unearned wealth and power don't elevate a corrupt mind. They destroy it from the inside out. Keep that imagery in mind because it's pretty much the blueprint for everything that's about to happen. So picture this. For 12 whole years, Devadatta lived as a monk, but his mind was just completely consumed by this intense desire for magical powers and worldly control. He literally wanted the ability to instantly teleport exotic fruits from far-off lands just to show off divine tricks and gather a massive following. But when he went to the Buddha and senior disciples like Sariputta and Moggallana and asked them to teach him these magical paths, they flatly refused. No way, they said. Instead, they urged him to focus on the core stuff: impermanence, suffering, and emptiness. But as you can probably guess, Devadatta was absolutely not having it. Ignoring all that profound wisdom, he actually found a workaround. He cleverly manipulated his way into learning magic from his younger brother Ananda. Now, Ananda hadn't achieved full enlightenment yet, and, well, naively taught him. Armed with these new powers, Devadatta sets his sights straight on the royal family, specifically Prince Ajatasattu. And here's where we see his true cunning. To secure the prince's patronage, Devadatta literally started shape-shifting. First, he appeared in the prince's home as this magnificent elephant, then a horse, and then, this is a truly bizarre psychological manipulation. He transforms into a beautiful baby adorned with golden necklaces, just playing right there in the prince's lap. And believe it or not, this wild stunt worked flawlessly. It secured Devadatta massive daily offerings of wealth and like 500 pots of food. So now he's got all this greed and royal backing, and his ego just completely inflates. He actually marches right up to the aging Buddha and demands to take over the entire monastic order. He basically tells the Buddhist it's time to retire. Well, the Buddha sharply rebukes him, even calling him a spit-eater who just consumes the leftovers of other people's faith. As you can imagine, Devadatta was furious. This stinging rejection pushed him over the edge, leading him to commit one of the absolute gravest spiritual crimes in the entire Buddhist tradition, attempting to fracture the community, which is known as breaking the harmonious Sangha. Let's look at how he actually pulls off this schism. Devadatta knew he wasn't going to win over the older, wiser monks. So what does he do? He cleverly targets the younger, newer monks by faking this extreme spiritual superiority. He rolls out these 5 ultra-strict ascetic rules, claiming they're the fast track to enlightenment. We're talking wearing only discarded rags, strict begging for every single meal, eating just once a day, sitting outdoors exclusively, and zero meat whatsoever. It was basically a masterful PR stunt designed to make the Buddha look soft and to pull those naive followers right into his new splinter group. Now, with his splinter group formed and his ego bruised, Devadatta strikes a dark, horrifying alliance with his royal patron, Prince Ajatasattu. The text records Devadatta proposing a synchronized bloody coup that would literally shake ancient India to its core. He tells the prince, and this is a direct quote, "You kill your father, I will kill the Buddha. This country will have a new king and a new Buddha." So it's absolutely crucial to realize this was no longer just some theological debate. It had escalated into a coordinated, violent insurrection against both the spiritual and secular leaders of the time. From here, the text maps out a brutal escalation of violence. It's a really stark contrast to those serene, peaceful backgrounds we usually associate with ancient Buddhism. Influenced heavily by Devadatta, Prince Ajatasattu usurps the throne and actually throws his own father, the righteous King Bimbisara, into a dungeon. First, he tries starving him. When the king's wife sneaks him food, she gets banned. And when the king manages to survive just by looking out his prison window at the Buddha on a distant mountain, Ajatasattu actually orders his guards to slice open his own father's feet, ensuring he dies in complete agony. It is a terrifying, steep descent into political madness. Meanwhile, Devadatta's assassination plot against the Buddha, it turns into this completely absurd chain of failures. He initially hires 4 thugs to ambush the Buddha. But then, getting super paranoid about tying up loose ends, Devadatta hires 8 more guys just to kill the first 4. Then he sends 16 men to kill the 8. Actually, scratch that. It goes even further. He sends 32 men to kill the 16. He accidentally builds this massive, multiplying web of hitmen purely to cover his own tracks. But here is where the story shifts back to something profound. Amazingly, the Buddha calmly greeted every single wave of these assassins. Every single one. Instead of falling victim to their violence or, running away, he just invites them to sit down. Through the sheer magnetic force of his presence and his teachings, he actually converted every single one of those assassins right on the spot. He literally turned a multiplying army of murderers into peaceful disciples. You can imagine how furious Devadatta was that his hitmen failed, so he decides to do the job himself. He waits at the very top of Vulture Peak and tries to crush the Buddha by hurling this massive boulder down the mountain. But the text describes a mountain spirit intercepting the rock at the last second. It shatters, and only a single splinter of stone actually strikes the Buddha, leaving him with just a minor bleeding toe injury. This moment perfectly proves the text's underlying logic. Karmic ripples and destiny just cannot be forced by brute strength or malice. So, moving to his final, desperate climax. Devadatta resorts to his most terrifying plan yet. He pays 500 gold coins to a royal elephant keeper. The mission? To heavily intoxicate a massive, deadly, and famously aggressive beast, aptly named Wealth Keeper. Devadatta timed the whole thing perfectly so this giant, drunken animal would be unleashed right at the exact moment the Buddha entered the narrow city streets for his daily alms round. As this furious, drunken animal rampages through the city streets directly toward the Buddha, a truly terrifying scene unfolds. The text describes the elephant trumpeting, violently tearing up the ground and just causing absolute chaos. Everyone in the city flees in panic. People are hiding inside their houses, scrambling up onto roofs. Even the senior monks, terrified by the sheer imposing physical danger, run away, completely abandoning the Buddha right there in the street. Well, everyone ran except for one single person, Ananda. He stood there, completely unwavering, right by the Buddha's side as this massive elephant charged straight at them. It's an absolutely incredible visual, but it begs a really massive question, right? Where did this absolute unflinching loyalty come from? Why on earth did Ananda stay put when even the most seasoned monks fled in sheer terror? Before answering that, the text resolves the immediate crisis. The Buddha doesn't fight the elephant. Instead, he enters a deep state of compassion samadhi, which is this profound meditation of pure, radiating love. He projects such intense loving kindness that the drunken elephant literally sobers up on the spot, drops to its knees, and bows right at the Buddha's feet. It's only after this miraculous subjugation that the Buddha turns to his awestruck followers and finally reveals the cosmic truth behind Ananda's bravery. And he does it through this beautiful series of past life fables. The Buddha explains that Ananda's loyalty wasn't just born in a single day. It was forged over lifetimes. He tells a story of a past life where he, the Buddha, was a majestic deer king caught in a hunter's trap. While all the other 500 deer in the herd fled in terror, one solitary female deer refused to leave his side. She boldly walked right up to the hunter and said, "Use your sharp knife, first kill my body, and then please release the deer king." That brave female deer, the Buddha reveals, was Ananda. And this beautifully illustrates a repeating cosmic motif. The narrative doesn't just give us one example, it layers them to show these incredibly deep karmic bonds. The Buddha tells another tale about a time when he was a goose king leading a flock, and his foot became hopelessly ensnared in a snare. And just like before, the entire flock panicked and flew away into the sky, leaving their leader to die entirely alone. But in this life, one loyal minister bird named Soma stayed behind. Soma faced down the terrifying hunter and declared with absolute conviction, "I am willing to follow the king, unchanged in life and death. I would rather die with the king than live apart." Soma even offered up his own flesh to the hunter in exchange for the king's release. And once again, the Buddha drops the reveal to his monks. That loyal minister bird was none other than Ananda. And finally, we get this incredibly moving image from the text. When the Buddha was an old, blind lion king who had accidentally fallen into a deep, empty well, his entire pride abandoned him. But it was Ananda, born in that specific life as a tiny, seemingly powerless wild jackal, who stayed behind. Using just his little paws and mouth, the jackal cleverly diverted a nearby stream, flooding the well until the water level rose just enough to float the blind lion to safety. What this ancient scripture masterfully illustrates across all these examples is a fundamental redefinition of power. True power isn't found in Devadatta's flashy, magical tricks, his political manipulations, or his violent royal coups. That kind of power is incredibly fragile and ultimately self-destructive. True, unbreakable power is found in the quiet, enduring strength of selfless loyalty and compassion. Those are qualities built and tested over countless lifetimes, perfectly embodied by Ananda standing calmly in front of a charging elephant. So as we wrap up this explainer and reflect on Devadatta's tragic downfall, brought on by his unearned gains and unchecked ego, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Look at your own life. Are the fruits of your ambitions bringing you lasting peace and deep connections? Or are they setting you up for a massive fall? If your ambitions bore fruit today, would they sustain you or destroy you like the banana tree? Thank you for exploring this fascinating source text with me. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.